everyone, my name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my self-publishing journey breakdown. I am not entirely sure when I'm going to put this up, whether it's on release day or before or after, but she's a real thing. She's happening. Oh my god. We're going to talk about my journey to publishing a second story, start to finish. I am going to talk about numbers that I spent in this video. I'm going to talk about kind of like different things that I've used, choices that I've made, things I've learned. But if I've missed anything at all that you want to know, feel free to drop me a comment down below. And if I get enough of them, I'll do another video about this to answer all those questions, or I'll answer them as you ask. But we're going to get to it. So first and foremost, I guess a second story is a queer cozy fantasy set by the sea where two adventurers, Ari and Finn, decide to buy a bookstore together in a little town by the sea and live out their best lives. So it's sweet, soft, set by the sea. It's set during the summer. There's, you know, a soft little bit of a found family vibe to it. We have a little bit of like HGTV renos because they're renovating the bookstore, all the good stuff. But anyways, let's dive in. How did I even get here? I got here because to this point of wanting to write a story and then publish it. I'm a big writer. I've been writing for my whole life, basically creating stories in different ways. And I've always wanted to be published. When I was a kid, I wanted to be traditionally published. But as I've kind of been in this space online, I've decided that I think a hybrid publishing strategy is going to be the best for me, because I really wanted to see how the self-publishing world worked, how having my own control over the whole thing would go. And as someone who loves having control over situations and having full input on decisions, that was very pleasing to me to have. And so I knew, like, back in 2020, 2021, when I was, you know, doing this content creation thing and writing at the same time, I knew eventually I was going to self-publish something. I just didn't know what or when. Then I read Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree at the beginning of 2022. And as soon as I read that, my brain started just sparking with all these ideas for specifically an Arrowmount book series based in the world that I had created for Project Dragon, which is something that I've been working on in epic fantasy, and for my D&D world that I play D&D games in, and I run D&D games in for my friends. I have an entire world in the realm of Rivar that I have been dabbling in for a little while. So I knew there was a little seaside town in this whole area that I wanted to kind of possibly write a story in. And when I read Legends and Lattes, I had this little book that my dad gave me. It was like an extra that he had for work. And I started writing down ideas of like possible stories that I could write in such a little itty bitty seaside town. And then I remembered I had characters that I wanted to do something with previously. I had made Ari as a D&D character for a D&D campaign, but previously I had him in my head as a kind of a Geralt of Rivia and Merlin figure. If you took Merlin from BBC's Merlin and like the idea of how like the Merlin figure has to help the King Arthur figure become king. And I had this idea in my head for a gay adventure novel where Merlin and Arthur actually do get together, because at the time I was watching Merlin and I was like, they're so gay. Why isn't it canonically gay? So I had them in my head, and I took Ari as a character and built him for a campaign that I was playing with my friends. And his story in that is desperately sad. In this story, in that backstory, his husband, Finn, ends up being brutally murdered because he is like a, you know, someone that they're actually hunting as a party kind of a thing. A whole backstory. Super tragic. And so when I got this idea of writing these little cozy stories on Arrowmount, or in Arrowmount, in the town of Arrowmount, I thought of Ari and Finn and was like, what if Finn never died and they got to live out a really sweet, soft life together? And what if they bought a bookstore? And that's when things just started spiraling. So that's kind of how I started. And I don't know if you guys have been around for a little while, but June of 2022, I decided to do a writing challenge where I actually decided to write out that story, because once I finished reading Legends and Lattes, the idea for a second story just poured out onto the page. I wrote it all in here, kind of just like, this is what happens, blah, 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 blah. Really quick synopsis or summary, if you will. And I desperately needed to get it out of my head because it was just chewing at my brain. And so I decided to do a 70K in 30 days challenge, because I figured, knowing me and the way that I write, 70K is probably a good size for these cozier stories. And so I did that, and I wrote the entire thing in June. I actually wrote a 60K novel in 25 days. It wasn't quite 70K, but by the end of it, by all the editing and everything, it ended up being about 68,000 words. So right around that mark that I was aiming for. But yeah, so I did that in June 2022. And then I launched into this world of deciding that I was going to self-publish these. I was going to keep turning out different installments of the series, but as like standalones, as companions, all linked in like the same timeline, in the same place, that whole thing. Once I decided that, I started doing my research. I came in from a kind of a unique situation because I've been following so many different authors and writers on YouTube for a long time and watching their content, especially people like Sarah Sutton, my lovely friend, who is a self-published author, who I've been following for a long time. Her journey and like learning the ins and outs of self-publishing was very helpful to kind of be along for the ride, and just kind of being in this sphere, you just learn so much through like osmosis. So it was kind of an interesting place to be. But I did know that I was still very out of my element when I started actually researching the stuff that I needed to know. But thankfully, I had a few things kind of at my disposal that were very, very helpful and that I will leave linked down below. So first of all, Travis Baldree, the guy who wrote Legends and Lattes, released an entire blog post on Medium detailing his journey top to bottom. And I've basically followed that timeline that he laid out, and it's incredibly helpful as a indie author who's trying to like figure out a plan to get started. This was the blog post that I was so happy was available. So I will leave that link down below. This is the Bible that I've basically been following. I'm pointing to my computer down here, which has it open, but truly so fantastic. I've also been following Rebecca Thorne, who is the author of, oh, it's on the other side of me, Can't Spell Treason Without Tea and The Pirate's Life for Tea, these two self-published books, who followed Travis Baldree's layout as well and has been very successful on TikTok in marketing her book. And so, and you know, getting the word out about self-publishing and like how-tos and stuff like that. So following people like that has been incredibly helpful. Once I started writing and I had my book after that challenge that I did, I was so excited about that story that I immediately sent it out to beta readers, which I usually say don't do. I say, you know, or in my head, I will do a draft and then an edit and then probably send it then to beta readers, because I don't want to go too far in my own edits before I get other people's input, because I know, being in the content creation community and being a professional editor myself, even though I'm not in the fiction editing space, I know that you need second sets, third sets, you need other opinions, you need other eyes on your work to help you craft a good story, because you as the author are too close to the story to realize if something's wrong or if you need more of something, that kind of a thing. And it also allowed me to leave that project sit for a month, turn my attention to other things. So I sent it out to betas, got that back, read over their notes, and then by that time I decided to do an edit myself, running through my whole story and kind of seeing where things top to bottom kind of run and how the story flows and what I wanted to add in and change with using my beta's notes as like influence. And so I did an edit then. And then I did another edit after that. I did like a line edit more so, just to make sure that things were running really smoothly. Then I sent it out again to more betas. And once that came back, I did another edit with their ideas in mind, just to make sure that like the changes that I had done on the first pass through with betas were good and that there weren't any more issues popping up with the second round of betas. You know, getting more eyes on your work at different stages is very important. I will say that until the end of my days. Like it's so important. After that, that's when I decided to send it to a professional editor, which I will talk about later in this video. And then when I got that back, I did another edit, implementing her edits and also doing a passive edits myself as I was going through really fast for readability, just to make sure the story flowed and was good. And I took a few of her bigger suggestions in and implemented them. And then finally, I did another edit on my phone after I had formatted my book into an ebook. And I did another edit that way, just to make sure I had caught everything I could. Because there are always things that are gonna pick up, and always things that you're gonna miss. So the more passes you do in different formats as well. I had printed out my book at some point in there. I think from draft 3 to draft 4 is when I had printed out my book. I edited it by hand and then implemented those edits into my computer, which is another edit. Like, it's just all edits and polishing and doing all that kind of stuff. And then here we are with the finalized copy. And still, after having finished that edit, there was more things that my readers caught. Well, one specific thing that one of my ARC readers caught. for me, thankfully, before any like deadlines were passed for changes on Ingram and stuff. And I have settled with this story as it is. I think with that structure, that's kind of how I'm going to go forward from here with my next books. Write a draft and then have people look at it, do edits for story, and then do a pass for, you know, conciseness and words, and then potentially have more people look at it, do another edit forever, you know, just kind of polishing my way through it. So that is the writing timeline that I've done. And I've been basically done since beginning of April, if you will. I did that final edit in April on my phone once I had formatted it, because April was my formatting month. And it is now May 4th as I'm filming this. May the 4th be with you. And this comes out May 11th. So for the month of April, it was a good buffer month in case anything went wrong, which a few things did, but I'm happy with where this is at now. But yeah, so going through the timeline that Travis Baldry had set up through his blog post here, I started doing that as well. So as soon as I decided that I wanted to self-publish this story and go forward with a series of self-publishing, I decided to start looking for cover designers and editors, because I knew the hunt was going to be real. It was going to be unreal. So first and foremost, my cover designer, my lovely cover designer, Tessa Brennan, absolutely stunning and a friend of mine. When I started looking for cover designers, I knew the style of art that I wanted, and I knew that I wanted a like image on the front, like a piece of art on the front, because I think when a book has a piece of art on the front, it's just so beautiful. Like if you look at Travis Baldry's original Legends and Lattes cover, or the US cover, I guess. Oh no, I think I have it still. Because I bound it in a hardback because I wanted a hardback of it. The original art, I still have the original cover that I took the inside out of. Don't worry about it. The original art from the self-published book is gorgeous. It's so eye-catching. It's just absolutely stunning. This is what I wanted to do with mine as well. I wanted something that was an art piece, essentially. So I knew I was going to be spending the most money on the cover. That was my aim, and I knew it was going to be a lot. But even then, when I was starting to look for artists, I was having a little bit of trouble finding anyone that was like perfectly fitting in one budget, because I knew I was going to be spending a lot of money on this, but I didn't have a ton of money to spend. I wanted a budget, and I wanted to keep it kind of reasonable for myself, knowing how much artists charge for their work, because they put so many hours into their work, because it's stunning and wonderfully done. But I was having a hard time finding people that really matched what I wanted. So I was making a list of like possibilities and people I could talk to, because of course you can always talk to people, and especially artists, and like tweak to what you want. But nothing was really working, and I had this idea in the back of my head. I was like, what if I got my lovely friend Tessa to be my cover artist? I wonder if she would agree to being this cover artist, and thus the subsequent cover artist for the rest of the series, and my Sage series essentially after that, because they are connected. I had previously commissioned a couple pieces from her, like my end screen that I have. It's not actually an end screen that I commissioned an art piece for a scene in Project Dream, which is my middle grade that's currently on hold right now. I commissioned it from her, and it's just absolutely beautiful. And I love her art style. I've been following her for a while. She's so talented. So I reached out to her and I was like, hey, would you ever be interested? And she was so game, and I'm so happy that she was, because even though I had an idea of what I wanted for this cover, when I was discussing this and I had like compiled an entire folder of stuff for, you know, cover inspiration and colors, and I wanted both Ari and Finn on the cover, so I wanted to give her like inspiration for their faces and what they look like and their descriptions in the book. I had pulled it all together in one like big folder and shared it with her on Google Drive, and she came to that first meeting with me for the cover once I had sent her all the stuff and all my notes and things like that. She came to the meeting with ideas already, just from hearing me talk about the story and stuff like that. So I knew immediately it was the perfect choice, because though I had an idea in my head of what I wanted, what she came up with was even better. And it was just like, oh, just so good. And I mean, look at this final product. It's just so perfect. Like it has my boys on it, which is what I wanted. And it kind of gets across this like storybook vibe with the framing, and there's something about it, and the way that she talked about it made me so excited. I'm thankful that I went with my friend, because we could talk at any point that we wanted to talk. Like if she had any questions about color or content or anything, she would reach out to me and be like, what do you think of this? You guys have seen my reactions to stuff if I got a Discord message from her in the middle of a vlog. Like it happened because it was so good and so easy. And I don't know if I would have had that same experience having hired someone who I wasn't friendly with. Like Tessa's one of my friends, you know? It was such a cool experience to be able to have these updates periodically throughout the time that she was working on the cover, and also have like input and like be able to make tweaks along the way to make it, you know, match what I have in my head. And it worked out so well, and I'm so pleased with it. And Tessa, of course, is on board for the next ones, and I already have sent her the content for a Little Lux cover. She's game. I'm so excited. So everything is wonderful, and I love that. I think that was probably the best experience out of this entire journey, is getting my cover done, because Tessa is just incredible. And I'm so glad that I have someone in my life who could do that, who's so talented to be able to do that. And also, in link to Tessa, by the end of when she was handing me the files, we had some issues with sizing, and neither of us knew what the hell we were doing with bleed, because you need bleed for covers, especially with Ingram and with KDP, because when they go to cut things, you need bleed lines in case things are shifted a little bit. We had no idea what the hell we were doing, but Tessa has friends and connections who she reached out to and helped her. So, you know, thank you to Ernest who helped out Tessa for that, because this is what we got out of it. Just this absolutely beautiful cover. And I mean, like, as an example for what I mean with bleed lines and stuff, you can see on the Amazon proof, there's a good solid, you know, frame around this, but on the Ingram copy, it was cut really close. So it's just one of those things. And I think it's because the Ingram copy is actually a little bit tinier, because even though it was an 8.5 by 5.5 or 5.5 by 8.5, whatever you want to say, size of paperback, you can see the Amazon one is a couple millimeters bigger on this side and a couple millimeters taller. So it actually, you know, worked well. But when you're doing this, and with any print run of anything, which I knew from my actual magazine editing life, because I'm an editor for a magazine publishing company, I knew what bleed does. I just didn't know how to set it up because I'm not a graphic designer. So it was all of these different things that ended up working wonderfully for this beautiful, amazing cover. For my editor, same kind of a thing. I started looking really early on online, trying to find people in my price range, because I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on editing, because I just don't have that kind of like loose income that I can spend on this kind of stuff. And I know that like some people charge thousands of dollars for editing. And I knew also, because I am an editor, as I've said many times, I know how to craft a good sentence, but I know, again, as I've said, you need multiple eyes on something. So I didn't want a developmental editor, because I knew my story was pretty good as it was from having my friends and beta readers look at it. And I know how to craft a story because I've been doing this for a while. So I wanted one in the process of my editing myself to basically be in the line of like line edits, and just to make sure I was catching everything, you know? So I wanted to find a good editor that fell under that and that could do that for me, and also who was like familiar with fantasy and that kind of a thing, and who could fit me in their schedule. So I was looking everywhere. I've looked on Fiverr and Reezy and just regularly online. So many people were just out of my budget. And I ended up finding two that I kept as like my top possibilities that I wanted to work with. And when it came around time that I was going to actually start like asking editors to see if they had space for me in February in their schedule, only one was available because another one was like had shut their shop down due to a family emergency or something. So I went with the one that was available. And I gotta say, like, this is not a comment on the editor at all. This is a comment probably on me. My professional editing experience was just fine. Like, it was great, fast turnaround. The editor was lovely and she did pretty good work, but it just wasn't as in-depth as I thought it was going to be. Because when I was implementing her edits, there were things that she didn't catch and I caught that next round. And as I was going back through, I was being more in-depth and gritty and just ruthless with my editing than she was. Sure, she caught a few things and she mentioned a few things that I did need to help make my book better, and I'm very thankful for that. I think I could have done a good job without it. So the learning curve for that is either I don't need an editor at that stage and I just need to keep editing on my own, or I need an editor earlier on in the stage, or I don't need one at all because I am an editor myself. And I know I keep saying you need more eyes on your project, but I think I can edit my own work well enough that I don't need a professional editor to look at it. You know, I say that so hesitantly because God, do you need an editor when you're self-publishing? I only say that because I am an editor and I can edit my stuff really well through experience, you know? And the fact that going through my editor's edits, I was just disappointed the whole way through because I was like, no, like as an editor, I would be even more ruthless than this on my own work. So we'll see what I end up doing for book 2. But that's kind of how I've learned. I don't know whether if I need to find a different editor to see if the experience is a little bit different, but honestly, I can do the work myself. I know how to do it and I'm pretty good at it. But yeah, that was my editing experience this go around. It was kind of a middle of the road. I would give it probably 2.5 stars out of 5, you know. It was fine. Like the editor was wonderful. She did what I asked her to do. I just expected more, I think. I just expected someone to like really be in depth with what I was presenting and like really working through my sentences and stuff. But I guess she was reading my work and found that it was fine. She didn't need to do that. So anyways, so I ended up finding an editor in February, and that's when I had her editing it throughout the month of February. And then March was my own editing month, which I ended up doing 2 pass-throughs in March and then another one in April. So, you know, just editing over and over and over and over and over. I don't know how many times I've read through a second story. It's been a lot at this point, but I'm pretty proud of it. And if you find a typo, do not let me know because I don't want to hear it. Typos will haunt my dreams, truly. Side note, when I thought I was done with the second story train, I had gone through and I had done that last edit on my phone and I had implemented those edits into Atticus. I downloaded the PDF and the EPUB through my formatting program and then threw it into Ingram first and uploaded that and then paid the fees that you have to pay for that, only to then put it into KDP afterwards and for it to find 5 typos. And they were all typos from the bits that I had just edited because Atticus didn't catch it for me. I was so mad. I was so mad, you guys. I had spent so much money on that and then I had to revise it and then I ended up spending even more money when another problem was found. But I digress. That's for a later in the video talk. Let's dive into formatting since I've been mentioning it. At the beginning of this, I again, because I've been following different self-published authors online, I knew that formatting software was going to be a pricey buy, but a necessary buy. Of course, you can pay someone else to format your book for you, but because if you do that, if you outsource the job, then if you have any changes that you want done, it's usually more money because you're paying that person to do the changes for you. If you have the ability to do it yourself, you can do those changes at any point in time. You can fiddle with it until midnight like I did when I got my program. From the beginning, I knew Vellum as a name. I knew that it was top dog. And I also knew it was super expensive. I was like, I want to do my research and see what else is out there. So I did. Found a bunch of different things, looked at so many different YouTube tutorials and videos on how people format their books, considered doing it through Word for like 5 seconds, and then I was like, no, I hate Word in general. I don't want to deal with it for formatting right now. So originally had decided to go the InDesign way because I figured, because InDesign is a subscription service, you pay monthly for it. I figured I could pay for just a month of InDesign and then get everything I needed for only like $27, right? It was so much cheaper than spending hundreds of dollars on an actual formatting software. And then when I actually got closer to the formatting of things, I was like, what if like in the long run, I'm going to be self-publishing more books after this, and InDesign seems horrible. It seems so totally not user-friendly, especially as someone who is not a graphic designer and who uses InDesign regularly. It would be brand new to me. I would be learning an entirely new program that is not made specifically for formatting books, right? Then I went back to the research. I went back to it. I decided that I was going to take a look at Vellum again, even though I knew I was not getting Vellum, but I was gonna look at Vellum's competitors that were like top dog. And the only one that really came out on top was Atticus. Atticus has its issues. It definitely does, but that's the one I ended up going with. One, because it was half the price of Vellum, and two, because I could use it on any one of my computers, not just a Mac, because Vellum is only Mac based. I know that my personal computer is a Mac, but it gets really mad when I run programs on it, anything other than just my internet or Scrivener. Anything else, it gets really mad and it heats up a lot and it just is loud and it runs heavy. So I was like, I'm a little nervous about using a formatting program on it in case it kills my computer, and I don't want to do that. I wanted to be able to do it on my work computer as well, which is a PC. So Atticus was the best choice, and I went with Atticus. And after having gone through that and like actually learning the ins and outs of the program, it's a very user-friendly program, I think, because it's made specifically for writing books and formatting books. There's nothing else to it. Like InDesign, it's a graphic design program, that kind of a thing. Once I had figured out all that, I think Atticus is probably a 4 out of 5 star for me. It was a little buggy, things kept going on, and it kept changing settings back on me without me noticing, so I would get annoyed when I go and like export my PDFs and realize that it was the wrong page count because setting got reset, and I was just annoyed at that part, and it was a little buggy from like actually making my own theme. But in the end, I figured it out, and I think it worked pretty well, and it looks great. Like, I'm not gonna lie, she looks pretty good on the inside if I don't say so myself. I have an entire vlog on my formatting journey live on my channel. I will leave it linked down below if you want any more on that, but I chose Atticus. I went with Atticus. Atticus is great. It's a great option. I did that in April because I wanted to be able to format my book and then immediately have a copy in my hands. So I did it as soon as I could, then get proofs through Amazon and Ingram. So what other things do you really need to know that I kind of learned along the way? All of this has just been learning along the way, you know? I think the other two main things have been ISBNs and copyright. So like those little things that you need to make your book, essentially. So ISBNs specifically, I knew at the beginning of all this because I watched so many indie authors online. I knew in the US that you have to buy your ISBNs. So because I knew that, I wanted to check out how I did that in Canada, because I figured, you know, if you have to buy it in the US, you have to buy it in Canada too. You don't. When I looked into it, you do not have to buy your ISBNs in Canada. They are free, which is amazing. Truly. Saving money, we love it. I went in and I figured out how to do that. So if you are Canadian and you're looking for ISBNs for your work, you have to go through the, what is it called? The Library and Archives Canada, and you make an account and then you can request ISBNs through that, and they just get signed up under, you know, all the metadata that you need. Why do you need an ISBN, you may ask? If you are deciding to publish through Amazon, which you should, because that is the mecca for all indie published authors right now, unfortunately, that is the place to be for them. Amazon will give you an ASIN, which is an Amazon specific ISBN number, which you cannot take anywhere else and sell your book. It is Amazon specific. So if you want to sell your book anywhere other than Amazon, you need your own ISBN to like tie them all together so they're all the same. And you need an ISBN for every single version of your book, or every format, I guess. So you need one for your ebook, and you need another one for your paperback, and you would need another one for an audiobook if you were doing that. I'm not. ISBNs was one thing that I figured out really early on, just because I was like, oh, if I have to buy them, I might as well buy them now. So I just have them, you know, when I need them. But I didn't have to buy them. They're free in Canada, which is great. Definitely do your research from wherever you are. Research on how you find your ISBNs and what you need to do for that in your country. Speaking of in your country, copyright laws. This was something that I didn't realize you actually have to do off the top of things. I figured you could just forego getting copyright. You can. There is a backwards way around it. But I was gonna do that backwards way around getting copyright, like actually paying for a legal copyright of your book. But I thought about it for like 3 seconds and I'm like, that's gonna be more expensive than if I just pay for the copyright of my book. So I ended up just getting copyright, and I Googled how to do it in Canada specifically. It was a little bit of an interesting system because, you know, the government of Canada websites are just a lot to deal with. It was a little bit of system stuff, but I have the links saved for future when I need the copyright for the next one. And I think it was only $50 online for copyright, which was very nice considering I thought it was going to be $150 going into this. Get your copyrights for your books, because you never know if someone's going to try and take you to court and say that this isn't yours, but it is yours. You own the rights to it. But yeah, other than those two, I think the only other thing that I wanted to really talk about today before I get into the money breakdown is KDP and Ingram Spark. So KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing is Amazon's publishing thing. And it is what you have to basically go with. Like, there's literally no other choice because you have to get onto Amazon to make any money in this game. KDP was an automatic yes for me. It's free, which is fantastic. It's very easy to use, in my opinion. Like, there's not really a whole lot of learning. It's pretty step-by-step forward. And if you don't know what's going on or you don't know specific things, they have question boards or FAQs or like links to figure stuff out, which is great because I use those a lot, like just for like the sizing of paperback covers and stuff like that when I was dealing with the sizing for this. KDP, fantastic. It's where it's at. That's where you're gonna get your 70% royalties on your ebooks if you price your book between $2.99 and $12.99. There are specifics. It's also where you're going to get your 60% royalties for your paperback, which you're not going to get anywhere else. But I knew going in that one, KDP was numero uno, but I wanted to do paperback pre-orders, and Amazon still does not offer paperback pre-orders, which makes me so mad. Amazon, get on it. It's the only reason why I had to use Ingram Spark, and I hate Ingram Spark now. I have beef with Ingram Spark, my friends. I wanted to do a paperback pre-order because all my friends wanted paperbacks, and as so far with my numbers that are coming in through the reports, it seems that everybody wants paperbacks, which makes me so happy as an author because then you guys get to hold my book physically. But I've sold 10 ebooks and like over 50 paperbacks. So paperbacks were the way to go. Knowing that, Ingram. Ingram was the one that it was the program that I was aware of through having watched Sarah Sutton and other indie authors, of course. And it's been a goddamn time, my friends. I knew going in Ingram Spark had a entrance fee. I really don't know what that word is. I keep calling it an entrance fee in my head. Don't think that's what it is. A sign-up fee, I guess. A publishing fee, if you will. If you want to publish a book with them, you had to pay $47 US or whatever, $49 US, which ended up being $67 Canadian at the time, what the dollar was. And so I knew that, and I knew it had revision fees. So going in, I was prepared to do one revision. I have spent over $200 on Ingram Spark because their system is a little bit stupid and I'm stupid. It's really user error, but I'm mad at them. Why am I mad at them as well? I was annoyed by them previously and now I'm mad at them because not only have they announced recently that starting in May, they are removing those sign-up fees and revision fees entirely. It's now free to upload your book with Ingram, which I was very annoyed at, but I was excited about because I'm like, great, every other book from now on, free. I'm not gonna have to spend over $200 if I accidentally mess up my drafts and have to do revisions when I'm using Ingram. Then I read the fine print. They are now charging a 1% distribution fee on every single unit sold. So that's fine, and it's okay for like maybe if you, is it fine though? Like it's still making the money, but it's cutting into indie authors already super small percentage that they get from Ingram Spark as a revenue. You know, Ingram Spark, you don't make much money off of the units sold through Ingram Spark. I will tell you that. Like Amazon's is 60% revenue. That's crazy. Like I don't even know what it is off of Ingram. Like I don't know what the percentage is. It's tiny. So cutting into that already small percentage and asking for 1% back is unreal. And after a certain amount of time, they will cost you more than if you paid that entrance fee because they're just going to keep taking money and it's from now until whenever. And I was like, okay, that's all well and dandy. It's making them money. They need to make money somehow. But there's also nowhere that it says that it is exempting those of us who have already paid those fees at the beginning. So if that's the case, which I think it is, because it doesn't say anywhere that they're exempting the people who have paid those fees from the distribution fee, that just means I'm going to be paying them more money in the long run. And I'm just mad about it. So I'm not happy with Ingram and I will not be using Ingram again. So overall, I think that one, the revision fees killed me. And that was, as I said, my error. It's my own error. But the distribution fee is really bothering me. So I think from here on, I'm going to decide whether I'm going to pull a second story from Ingram's system. If I do that, I have to go through like their customer service, which sounds like a hellfire. But for the next book, for sure, A Little Luck, I'm going to be trying draft to digital because that one is free. And I still want to try these systems that aren't necessarily Amazon because I want my book to go wide and I want that paperback pre-order option. Going wide, I say is getting into Barnes & Noble, getting into Kobo, getting into all these other places, and being available for libraries and bookstores and indie bookstores to be able to buy your book, because they don't like buying from Amazon direct. They like buying from places like Ingram because they get a discount and they can do like wholesale bundled copies of purchases, right? So I knew this going in. I wanted my books to be available for indie bookstores. I wanted my books to be available for libraries. I knew that, which is why I chose Ingram. So I'm going to try Draft to Digital. I have to do my research on Draft to Digital though, because I have not done anything other than I know that it's free and Ingram is not. So that's going to be my journey for the next book. And if it ends up being really, really good, I know that Ingram's distribution fee doesn't kick in until July. So I have until then to decide if I'm going to pull a second story from their system. We'll deal with that when that happens. Let's jump into what I've actually spent to publish this book, because I always like when indie authors share kind of their money and like what you can expect for budgeting, if you need to know how much you need to save, that kind of a thing, if you want to do this too. So I wanted to go at this in a very budget friendly way because, as I said, don't have a lot of extra income that I can just spend willy-nilly on this kind of stuff. I say that having just spent $200, over $200 on Ingram Spark, but that was a necessity and it just made me mad. So, and this is all in Canadian dollars. I will say, I paid $405.36 for manuscript editing, plus a $10 chapter of edits that I wanted to do, because when I was finding in my editor, I wanted to see how she edited. And so I gave her my first chapter to like see, and also give her a chance to like see my writing so that we could, do whatever, and, paying for her time. $10 there, plus the $400. Then I also spent about, oh gosh, it's probably about $25 now on TikTok promotions. I did a test promo, which is all I've written down here, for $13.99. I wanted to see how the TikTok promos worked and how well they would generate numbers for me. And I've tried it a number of times after that just to see kind of like testing on different systems and like what I wanted more of, to see how it would work and how it would bring numbers to my page. They work, of course they do, because you're paying money for it to work, but I think it's not a way to go viral, because they don't go viral. Those videos that you want to go viral don't end up going viral, and then one that you make on an off chance will go viral that you don't do anything with. So I paid about like $25 for TikTok promos just to try it, because I wanted to get as many people to know about this book as possible. That was my aim, in my marketing. After that, $50 for copyright. And then for Atticus, it was $149 around there US. It ended up being $207 for the Atticus program. Oh, also for my ARCs, I didn't talk about ARCs at all. I wanted to distribute them in an easy system. I ended up signing up for BookFunnel for their annual subscription for a newbie author. It ended up being $27.82. Then I ended up paying my cover designer $650. All right, so the Ingram breakdown, I wrote out in full because I was irritated. I didn't actually put them all together. I paid originally $67.77 for the Ingram load. Then I paid $34.34 for the first revision when I caught those original typos. Then when that was like all said and done and I had submitted it yes to the system, when one of my readers came back and notified me of an error in the manuscript, that was not something that I could ignore. Like it was, I'll show you actually, because this proof has that error in it. So chapter 7, I have it listed as an Arlius chapter. It's actually a Finian chapter. And then chapter 8 is the other way around. And it was an error that I could not leave. That revision cost me $104 Canadian. It ended up being 75 US, because it was 25 for a new paperback upload, 25 for a new cover upload, and 25 for the new ebook upload. So I was irritated by the fact that it cost me so much that I didn't realize I had formatted it wrong, because Atticus had reset a format function. I realized it as soon as I hit pay, because I went back in and looked at it, and there was 8 extra pages when it should only be 291 pages max. I knew the page count of my book and it said it was 299 pages. And I was like, son of a gun, it did the thing. It reset when I went to do the change and exported everything. In Atticus, at the very bottom, in the advanced settings for the formatting, there's a choice whether you want widows and orphans to be removed, whether you want balanced pages across, whether you want even pages, or whether you want a balance of the two. And I want those even pages, because having the even pages across the bottom, having that even across the bottom is the only way that I live. So that cost me, that revision, because it wasn't right, cost me another $34.76. On top of that, getting a proof from Ingram, which is what this is, because I wanted a copy that was finalized, was $25.59. For all 3 of the Amazon proofs that I've gotten, I had 2 originally because I know through my work with my magazine, with my company, when we get magazine proofs, we always get 2 just to make sure that if there's an error on one, there isn't on the second one, so that it's just a momentary blip. So I got 2, which was good because there was a big mark on one of them when I got it and it wasn't on the other one, so I was happy and satisfied. But I got 2 of the Amazon ARCs just like from the first pass through. Then I got a 3rd one with my new maps in it. And for those 3 proofs from Amazon, it was $29.74. Finally, the last purchase I've made for this whole thing has been labels for book plates, which is kind of a fun segue. I was reached out to by a lovely indie bookstore in the States. They wanted to see if I had any promo material that I could send them because they were going to like really promote my book. They're buying a bulk order for their store when it releases, which I am so pleased by. It's called A Room of One's Own bookstore in, I believe, Wisconsin. I can't remember directly, but Gideon reached out to me. Thank you so much, Gideon. Once they asked if I had any promo material like stickers or book plates, I immediately was like, oh my god, I gotta do that. Stickers are on hold because I don't think I can get them in time, and I need to wrap my hand around doing stickers or bookmarks or anything like that. But book plates, I have labels on their way to me from Amazon right now. I rush ordered them, and in total it ended up being $22.39 for some labels. So I will have the option, if you guys want, if you get a copy of A Second Story, if you want a signed book plate from me, I will eventually have an option for you guys to ask for them, and I will send them your way. I have to figure out the details, but there are going to be signed book plates available. I will not be offering signed books because I live in Canada, and I will not be doing that to you guys. The shipping here, unreal, so expensive. So I won't be doing that to you guys. The easiest way to do that is book plates for sure, just for cost for all of you guys. I don't want to do that to you. In total, my friends, ended up being $1,693.04. I will say it is a little scary having spent that much money on it, and I know so many other people have done more breakdowns and have spent so much more money on their books. I wanted to do this as budget friendly as possible, which I think I have, because I have seen other people's numbers and they are double, triple of what I've done. I'm really happy with that. Book 2 is going to be exponentially cheaper because 1, I'm not going to be spending $200 on Ingram. 2, I don't think I'm going to get an editor, so I'm going to be saving money there. 3, I'm not going to be buying Atticus. That's another $200 going to be saving. 4, I know how to do this now, and I think I can do it in a really inexpensive way. The biggest expense, of course, will be my cover, which I'm so fine with, because you should be paying the amount that the artist asks for, if not more, because it's so worth it, the amount of time that they put in and heart that they put into these books. I am officially losing my voice. I've been talking for so long, so I really hope you enjoyed this video. Again, please let me know down below if there's anything else you want to know. Anything on marketing, anything on money, anything on breakdown, any specifics you want to know that I talked about today, ask me down below. Either way, my friends, thank you so much for watching. This has been a video. I am so pleased that we are finally here. A Second Story, my little queer cozy fantasy, is ready to be out in the world. I'm not sure when I'm putting this live, but it's like right around release day, and I'm so thankful for you guys' support and hype and love for this project. You guys make me so happy, and it's exceptional, and I'm so pleased that we finally are here and that I can share this story with you guys. I'm so excited. I need to go drink some water, but thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading and writing.